Just to let everybody know, we are recording this for the folks that can't join us. We're going to give folks about another minute to kind of settle in. Looks like we're still getting people in. Okay. All right. We can go ahead and get started, and hopefully some other folks can join us. But we appreciate everybody being here tonight. The past few months, our steering committee has been crazy busy working on rules changes and talking through the survey responses and seeing what we can do with our organizational systems, and just trying to get a hold on everybody's feedback and see if there are major things that we want to focus on to improve the game. So tonight we're going to talk through a lot of the work that they have been doing. And we're very, very grateful for all the time and thought and energy that they've been putting in. And you've seen a lot of the results of their hard work in the rules change documents and the website. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over.
That's my cue to start talking.
Yes, please.
All right. So if you have not yet had a chance to look over the 2023 rules update and or the quick reference document that we put out, strongly encourage you to do that. I am going to essentially use that quick reference document as sort of an outline for what I'm going to talk about tonight. If there are any specific questions, toss it in the chat and somebody will shout at me because I've got a bunch of other stuff up on the screen and don't have the chat up on the screen. So I'll start at the top with sort of the general stuff. So spell books and production formula books are no longer required for spells and or production. If you have these books, they no longer have any input value, but you can still utilize them as a resource, a reference tool, however you want, but they no longer have any input value. New materials have been added for vessel crafting, and some existing materials have had some adjustments to their abilities. Any existing item that is made from one of those materials that has been changed or altered will be updated the next time the card needs to be created. If you have a permanent version or permanent item of any of those, reach out to Jesse, who you want to reach out to.
For changes, you can go ahead and reach out to logistics.
Logistics, okay. I wasn't sure which email. Yeah. But that would be the plan is whenever it comes up for a reprint, we would handle it at that point. Again, if it's a permanent item, it needs to be handled since it's not going to be reprinted. Email the logistics email. And then just the last note we had in general. So normally Shadowmoor does not do any sort of mid-year updates or addendums. Obviously, we've had a lot of changes take place between last season and the start of this season. So we are planning on a mid-year review update addendum. I've already got a 2023 rules change log started from things that I missed or things that are not super clear. It's 270 almost page document. And it's an all volunteer group. It's not going to ever be perfect. Alright, moving on. PC races, we did have a couple changes there. So, one alteration, and Jesse, I'm going to need your help with this, but out of respect for some real world cultural ethnic groups, the race previously called the Wachaga has been renamed to Jesse. I can't pronounce it, so this is where I lean on you.
So I think we're gonna try for Arusian.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, in Syrian.
Okay. I was like, what?
No, in Syrian, sorry.
Syrian.
You didn't even say a word.
I was trying to read and answer at the same time. It did not work.
Yes, as Payne just hypothetically spelled it a couple different times. And this is, again, this is due to some real world things that were brought to our attention, so we made that change out of respect for those real world cultural ethnic groups. The racial advantage disadvantage statistics make up costume requirements. Everything else is unchanged. And for in-play purposes, everyone should just treat it as if the name has always been in Syria. And if people mess up because we've been calling it something for almost a decade at this point, just quietly, gently remind them, let everybody, deal with it. We'll try to deal with it as gracefully as we can. Some general changes. All the characters will start at 50 build. We have, as part of the change, some of the other changes that we'll talk about later, several other races had some of their advantages altered. So I'm going to go through those very briefly. Both the Amrathi and the Tieran Mountain Dwarf previously had half cost for Armor Smith. That has been changed to half cost for Fortify skill and half cost for craft skills. And whenever that term craft skills is used, that is the 2-build roleplay only blue tag version. The Scrapper version of the Gloomkin is the same change as the Mountain and Amrathi Dwarf. What was once half cost for Armor Smith is now half cost Fortify and craft skills. The Hagler Gloomkin previously had half cost for evaluate item. That has changed to half cost for Fortify. Hobbling and Reaver previously had half cost for evaluate item. That has changed to half cost for craft skills. And the Strigosh is the same as the Hobbling and Reaver. Alright. Moving right along. Magic and spellcasting. This is the one that's probably going to take a little while. So, rare spells. So, all spells that have previously been listed or noted as rare spells are now just going to be generally available for use to anyone who has access to that School of Magic. So, I'm not a Earth Generalist, so I still can't throw stone limbs. But if it shows up in your class or your School of Magic cast, congratulations, you have access to it now. And there's no need for a scroll or anything, it's there. We did have one change to one addition to a specialty column, as well as a change to the level at which you may specialize. So for a long time, the level to specialize has been at level 7. This originated when we started at level 1 and then level 3. Characters start at level 5 now. You're hitting level 7 very, very quickly. So we wanted the players to have a little more chance to experience another event or so of the game, event or two, before specializing. So that level at which you may specialize has been changed from 7 to 10. The other specialty column change is Druids may now cast the remedy spell from memory or items. Alright, one of the playtests is next. It's the spell tagline playtest. So this had sort of been an optional playtest that was not optional for plot, and it is now a game-wide playtest that we are politely asking everyone to try to participate in, so that we can get some good data on seeing it in action, as well as some good feedback from post-event surveys. Damage and the tagline. Afterwards, the example is go with Dragon's Breath and say 40 flaming, or if you throw a doom and say doom death, throw a web, say web, that sort of thing. Again, it is not a requirement yet. We are politely asking for folks to do that, to test it out, because if only the folks that are currently doing it anyway are testing it out, that's all the feedback we're going to get. Some numerical spell changes. So all cure and call spells previously had base 4 healing and damage, now they have base 5. So it's level of spell times 5. Let's be honest, nobody likes doing multiples of 4, multiples of 5, just easier math. Everybody likes that. Additionally, all healing and inflict is now base 10. So Shadowmoor, for example, would heal for 80 body. Again, a lot of the same argument there. Nobody likes to do multiples of 8, multiples of 10 or easy. Lastly, on the numerical changes, Elemental Blast now does 100 points of elemental damage. Sorry, somebody say something? Okay. Alright, yeah, and the last one was Elemental Blast, and now they do 100 points of elemental damage. Alright. The next section is one I expect to get a lot of questions, comments on, but we'll go through it. So, spell consolidation. One of the largest pieces of feedback that we got at the Between Events survey that Jesse and Amanda asked everyone to take some time to fill out. Also incentivized it with build, so if you didn't do it, not only did you not get to provide feedback, you also lost out on build. But one of the common themes that came up was the and Julia, if you want to jump in, I'm saying these words wrong. This was your baby. It's the complexity of the Shadowmoor rule set and sort of the barrier to entry or barrier to comfort with the rules that having such a large rule space, rule set created. So this is one of our attempts to make those 270 pages of rules just a little bit less daunting. So what we have done, attempted to do, is to consolidate some spells. A lot of them are spells that were functionally the same, but that were just, one was Celestial, one was Earth. A great example that is used in the quick reference document is Shatter and Destroy. So Shatter and Destroy function exactly the same, except for the different schools. So Shatter has been removed from play, and any spell school that previously had access to Shatter now has access to Destroy. Additional result is some spells had their level and potentially some aspects of the spell adjusted. That full list of changes starts on page 30 in the rulebook. If there are specific questions that anyone has, you can either, and some of you have already done it, you can post on the Facebook post, the rules and website Facebook post, and we'll try to answer them there, or you can post them in the chat, and we'll try to answer them here. Jesse, I am 15 minutes in, and I just realized that is somebody recording this because we said we would?
Yeah, I got it.
Alright, sweet. I didn't ask. Sorry, you may have said that when I was dealing with screaming kid.
Yeah.
Alright. Sorry. Back on track. Yes, full list of changes is starts on page 30. One spell that I will note, it's noted in the quick reference document, it's one that I think has the potential potential to have the most issue because of the functionality of the spell was changed, and that is Spirit Armor. It was previously level 7, it's been reduced to level 5, but as a result of that, the ability to cast on a dead body has been removed. That was one of the reasons that it was a higher level spell than Mage Armor, and Mage Armor obviously had been removed, and now it is Spirit Armor for both sides. So as a result of this, there's a lot of questions, a lot of things that potentially up in the air. So for consumable items, one-shots, potions, and scrolls, if you have any that are purchased from a merchant or that have not yet expired for whatever reason, or don't expire at the event of the event for whatever reason, you may substitute the correct spell in lieu of the replace spell. So if you had a Circle of Power one-shot, call in a Circle of Protection. Throw in a Circle of Protection, pull your Circle of Power one-shot back. Here's the removal of poison is because another common theme in the survey was the confusing nature of some rules, and that was one of the ones specifically cited was the poison spell versus poison tagline versus poisons, the gases that people threw. And yeah, the drain line verbal sucks for druids, but they got a bunch of other stuff to throw. So they'll be fine. Jumping back on items real quick, so for those multi-use items, so like an example of expands in an extended, preserve, or permanent item, you may substitute the correct spell in lieu of the replace spell. Again, use that same Circle of Power, Circle of Protection example, and whenever the card needs to be reprinted, it will be corrected to show the new and appropriate spells. But just so that the formal marshals and staff don't lose their mind, we are not going to be adjusting remaining or total formal space as a result of this change. So if you had an item that was chock full of Spirit Armors, you're not going to get chock full times 2 levels back. You're going to, whatever formal is currently on the card is available, that's what's left. So obviously this is a pretty big change, and as a result of the consolidation for the 2023 season, we'll be implementing just a no flub rule when it comes to someone throwing the old spell. I mean, I've played Celestial Caster for a real long time. I'm probably going to throw Shatter. And then Chris is going to laugh at me. Because I'm the one who talks about all this. But no, whoever, in a situation that happens, monster plot member will just gently inform them of the error. The caster will not lose the spell from memory. They'll get to do it again. The only exception to this rule is player versus player encounters. If I, jump miles and try to triple shatter him for whatever reason, pretty sure Chris is not gonna be that forgiving. He might let me know later, but he's not gonna, in the middle of a PvP encounter, correct me. He's gonna wait until we're done. Correct. Alright, any questions on that? I'll look at the chat real quickly.
Yeah, Isaac, you did bring up that, Spirit Armor has been obviously called upon Earth right now, and honest truth, that was just such a minor detail on this big rules revision that we just didn't think that we'll talk about the revision of the verbal because grammatically speaking, we could probably do something kind of generic that was going to apply in the future.
Yeah, and I do think if we were to make changes to those that have that overlap now that don't necessarily make sense, it will be something that makes sense for both, not 2 separate ones, because that would sort of go against the spirit of trying to simplify things as much as possible. Yeah. But again, we I think Jesse and Amanda have, they obviously did the survey before we met as a steering committee this year. They're going to do post-event surveys. What we do, what we talk about, is going to really be dependent on the player feedback that we get. So it's not like, I did the survey too. I wanted my free bill, let's be honest. but it's not like those surveys are just gone in the ether once you fill them out. Like, they are looked at, discussed. We Jillian gave a PowerPoint presentation to all of the steering committee folks on it. Like, it was seriously considered. All right. Cody, yes, that is correct. And for the recording, you can see chat. Cody asked if someone had a magic item with multiple poison in it, does that become drain life instead? And that will be yes, it would. And again, you would use that item as is until it needs to be reprinted, and when it is reprinted, it will be corrected. Alright, gonna move on from spell stuff. If you have questions, we got people monitoring chat, we'll come back to it. But I want to leave plenty of time for Mikey to do all the talking. Yes, thanks, Nick. Yeah, I said I wanted my free bill too, and I see like 10 people started it. But God store changes. So the process for purchasing lives has not changed. The cost has been changed. So additional lives may now be purchased for 50 gob per life. The cap of purchasing 3 lives maximum per event remains in place. So for those of you who may not know or may not remember, it used to be a tiered 50, 30, maybe 60, 90, but it ultimately capped at 90. It took you a while to get there, but now it's just going to be 50 from the start, and it's going to stay at 50. And the limit has always been 300 net. It remains 300 net. That's not changing. And the other change with the Gob store, there are new items in the Gob store, new and different. We do have a lot of the same stuff in there as well. So there is in the quick reference document and the rulebook, there is a link which will go to the Gob store on the website. So you just click on that and it'll bring up the Gob store for you. Tell you all about how to spend Gob. And on the website it actually has an order form that you can submit straight from the website. And please don't wait till the last minute. Please try to have things by next Friday, or I might say. All right, production. So production books, as I mentioned earlier, are no longer required. However, we are going to be introducing rare recipes for production skills. And in order to produce those new and rare recipes, you will need a crafting recipe for those. So keep an eye out, keep a lookout, keep an eye out. I don't want to steal Mike's thunder, but you might give a hint or a taste of a few of those. We did have one other production change, antidote, which is either the gas or the elixir version, now removes all negative metabolic effects impacting the target. So, congratulations, Alchemists. Okay, character skills and abilities. And some changes there. Number 1, the evaluate item skill has been removed from the game. As we talked about earlier, races that previously had a reduced cost for that skill and an advantage have been adjusted. All characters who have the skill will have that bill refunded. Yes, rare poisons are still a thing. The warrior skill trees that were in playtest, they left playtest the second half of the 2022 season and are now available for purchase. You still have to meet the requirements. It's warrior fighter only. There are some other requirements involved there. You can look at the rulebook for more information, more details there. And we do have one of the two of the trees have one of their skills is wrong due to a change that was made during the playtest and not captured, updated. So we'll have to go and clean that up, and we will do. As I said earlier, we'll do a mid-year rules review. I'll update the actual rulebook document at that time. So until then, it will say what is wrong. Having guardians and creatures must no longer be bound in order to be used or active. All other requirements remain. So if if you don't have invested users, the master controller is not on site, can't use them. But now, if one person is the master controller or main controller of all your creatures, you're not going to have them losing a bunch of mind slots. The final character skill ability change, the Oracle class has been in playtest for, I guess technically 3 years. We started that in 2020 before COVID sort of put a 2-year delay on everything. But we have finished the playtest there, so that class is no longer in playtest, and maybe selectively creating a character. There are no other changes to this class, and as a note, it does remain a full-time orange headband class, so you will not be interacting in combat if you choose to do that. It's a great option for those that are not interested or not able to participate in combat. So that is available for selection at this point. Okay, formal. In an effort to allow players who cast a lot of formal magic to have more quality time in play as opposed to sitting in a camp chair looking at a scroll, we adjusted the casting time on a number of rituals. So the rituals, I'll tell you, have had their durations adjusted. And just to note, what I'm going to tell you for times is before any other alterations. So if the scroll says halftime, one of it's half of what I'm going to say. If the scroll says, or if you have a mastery, it's whatever the mastery impact is after what I'm going to say. These are the standards. So enchant is now 1 minute per spell level, down from 5. Expands also 1 minute per spell level. Extends have been reduced to 15 minutes. Preserves have been reduced to 30 minutes. And all creature guardian creation had the current casting time halved and rounded up to the nearest next 5 minutes. So just as an example, a creature currently takes 15 minutes to cast. In 2023 and moving forward, it will take 10 minutes to cast because 15 divided by 2, 7.5. Nearest 5 minute interval is 10 minutes. So, yeah, get those formal casters out of their cabins. So that is the bulk of what I've got for now. I'll look at some questions. I think most of them.
I answered most of them, Daryl, but this one for the recording is, are shared spells school specific? So if you put one shot into a focus from the celestial side, can an earth caster use that? And of course, no, you cannot. The formal marshals will be working that with a C or an E to differentiate which side was actually cast as the one shot.
And thank you, Adam. That's a good question. And Galen also had a good question of how the spell change interact with Plug Earth, Plug Celestial. And Mike answered that in the chat as well. I'm going to say it just for the recording. Unfortunately, unless you know which side it is, if it's a both-sided spell, you can cloak it. So that is an impact of the change. All right. So those are all of the changes that I have to go over, except those are everything I've got. So I am now going to turn it over to Mike to talk about the crafting overhaul playtest, which is very cool, super exciting. I'm not just saying that because I like Mikey. Again, I'll say, as I said with the spell consolidation, a lot of the work that Mikey put into this, is really because of a lot of the feedback we got around crafting, and that aspect of the game it was a lot of lacking. I think is probably one of the nicer ways to say it. It was, it didn't have the meat behind it like the formal magic did, or some of the other aspects of the game. So Mikey really took the ball and ran with it. So I'm going to let him talk all about crafting, and now I will take care of listening to or looking at the chat and trying to answer questions. All right, so Mikey, you're up. right, let's go. We're going to first talk about one thing from the job store. I'm just going to bring that up while I'm thinking about it. Do you take a look at that? One major change to the job store is those of you that have used extension magic as a way to preserve your items, do check out the rules in regards to that. Preserve has been taken off of the job store. Extend is in there, and it's been extended to 1 year, and the job cost has been increased. We want to encourage you to have that done in play and not use the job store to preserve your items during the event. Okay? So, yes, we want you to do it in play, but if you get into that emergency situation when you can't do it, that is still available to you. Okay? Previously firmed items are still firm. Thank you for linking that, Amanda. The job store link is up there. Alright, so, any questions on that? I don't know who that is. That is
Damn, you're hot.
Damn, you're hot. Okay, so formal scroll changeout. So for the changeout, here's what we're going to do. I'm doing this in 2 steps. If you haven't seen the Facebook page, there is a list of 100 different scroll names, and that doesn't include any crafting or rare production recipes. All of those are being changed out for March. Okay. There is a template. Download the template, fill in your scrolls based off of the instructions. Email it into merchant@shadowmoor.org. That will give me a nice long list for next weekend to go ahead and print those up and have those ready as a packet for you to pick up during and or before the ceremonies. It's a lot. It's a lot, guys. So the ones that are being reprinted right now have to do with some had components being changed. Some of them had them updated. They still had gearing equivalents. They've all been updated. Some production recipes. The production books are not required. There's actually a scroll for it. It does matter. And I'll show you guys some tidbits of that in a little bit. We are also changing out. We changed some wording, especially for Transfer Master Controller. We added a nice blurb for everyone. So we got some feedback that it was difficult to make Guardians for new players because of the prohibitive gold cost for transferring those over. So it doesn't make sense to make Straw Golem for a newbie and then have to pay 10 gold for the transfer plus 15 gold for the component when the Straw Golem isn't worth the salt. Okay, so what we did is there's an additional change to all the Transfer Master Controllers. So you can transfer it if you are the Master Controller and you're the one casting the Transfer Master Control. And the Guardian is 4th or lower. There's no gold cost for the Transfer Master Controller. So that is something to keep an eye out for. We want to take care of those newer players, but that's a major change. A level 4 Guardian is at the end of the world. No, but it is something for a newer player that gets them some that woman fuzzy of being into the game. Okay. As Daryl pointed out, all the extension magic is half the time it used to be. We are changing the times on the Guardians. Now, for Guardians, the ones on the list are only the ones that had other changes to them. So the Guardians that are on the list are only those. Any of the other Guardians we're going to probably handle in April, and we're probably just going to bring that to opening ceremonies and cross through it, and then we will initial it to the correct time. It's just too much paper to move all at one point. Okay. scroll print is close to 300 scrolls, and I know that I don't have everything. All right, so what other change out? Any kind of crafting scroll that you might have, we're going to change those out, and that goes into the complete change of crafting. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Any of the there was in the past I think the only two were like an Alchemist Fire and the IDG rare recipes. Those are being changed out because they had changes. The IDG, that's an FYI, never said how much production cost it had. So that's an added to the scroll. All right. Any questions specific to the scroll change out? Let's see if we got a question from Nick. What part of gold play? Yeah, sure. We're going to go with it as some sort of magical catalyst. But let's be honest, Nick, it's a money sink for the game. Okay, it's your magic item packs. All right, so let's go on to the crafting overhaul, even though it's not really the way. Dale, did you want to go to the taglines, or did you already cover that in the little pieces? I'm just looking at the agenda.
I already covered that.
All right, well then we're going to go into the crafting overhaul. All right, gang, this is my baby, and I'm super excited for it. What we've done is we took all the stuff that we had before and mashed it together, and the major complaints and or concerns that we've always had in the past is that we had a crafting system, and then we had another crafting system, and then we had another crafting system, and then we had formal, and none of them worked the same way. Okay? Chef and brewer didn't work the same way as jewel crafting, which didn't work the same way as armor smithing, that didn't work the same as formal magic. So what we did, formal magic, the bag pulls are just kind of Shadowmoor's thing. Okay? So everything gets lumped in, everything is now a bag pull. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that means Mike's got to do a lot of paper. Okay? So all those recipes, that means that every crafting recipe, you have a 1 in 10 chance of failing. It is not automatic. Just like my wife sewing something, it's better than a 1 in 10 chance that she gets it right, but you're not always successful. Okay? The rules are in the rule book. There's some slight differences as far as crafting is concerned. There are some slight differences. You are allowed to role play and move around when you're crafting, which is not necessarily that way for formal. It's much more hard-nosed as far as formal is concerned. However, just as serious. Okay. Let's see. All right. So what did we do? All right. So we had jewel crafting, we had armor smithing, and we had chef. Okay. They all did different things. So we wanted to take that on the same line as how we handle formal. So we've got 9 levels of craft skill for each of the 3 tiers, and we go with 3 different craft columns, kind of like you have celestial and earth. And there's 2 masteries for each one. So it's smithing is your 1 through 9 level. Artificing is your 1 through 9 level that you see tool crafting. And then 1 through 9 level of culinary arts, which is your brewing and your chef. Okay? You've got of course, you've got the stream up. 1 second. I didn't realize you had the rule book up. Thanks, that always helps. Hang on, do this memory. So you've got armor smithing and weapon smithing for your craft mastery for AJ, go ahead and please. For smithing, tinkering, and jewel crafting for artificing, and chef and brewer for culinary arts. Now, we went on the same lines of what we were doing thematically for each. So smithing still makes weapons and does armor reinforcement. Artificing does all the things that jewelers used to do, but tinkering, that's something completely new. So now tinkering, and these are all scrolls right from scratch, it is things like, we're making constructs. They're not as good as celestial constructs, but they're still decent constructs. They do different things. There's 3 lines as far as the constructs on tinkering. And they may have rigidy things. We're not going full steampunk here, guys, but there's some interesting things. There are the guardians for it. There's like an animal line, which is quadruped. There's a full bipedal automaton line, and then there's what I called sentries, which are cabin guardians that can literally not move, and they throw packets. So yes, they are turrets. Okay. Yes, it's robot fighting time. Thank you. Okay. They do other things. Tinkerers can also make bombs. They are pricey to make, but yes, Tinkerer can throw bombs. One major change that while I'm thinking about it. So previously, those of you crafters out there, you can remember that you used to take those formal quality gems when you're making a sword or what have you, and you could put it to add your formal skills. It doesn't work that way. So jewelers have their own thing, and I know, heaven forbid, people actually have to interact, but that weaponsmith needs to take that sword over to that jeweler to have a gem setting put in to up that formal space. So, oh no, interaction. So they have those kinds of things. Culinary arts, if you did not see in the rules, you could have one effect of a chef item and one effect of a brewing item on effect of you at any one time. Yes, I'm an introvert. However, the basic idea behind those effects are still the same as what the rare recipes were. They give you resist per event. They give you extra body per event. There's some other cool, interesting things, like some heal over time, so like get a body back per minute. Interesting things that I'll let you guys find out about. And then weaponsmithing, or smithing in general. They still do all the sharpening. They still do all the reinforcing. They still do making weapons taken out. There are separate scrolls for making shields. Okay, that didn't exist before. But that also means that there are ways of getting cool alterations on all these items. Okay, so you can get that cool, unique sword when you pull that A7 or that A9, and it makes every item kind of unique. Yes, I love the A9 bomb too. Any questions? Did I forget something? Daryl, Chris, anything?
Hey, Mike, with stuff like the turrets, as we're casually calling them, how do you preserve those? Are those just scabbards
And it's outfitted. Yep, same thing. Scabbards, they can't use claws. They don't get claws. You leave them below the packets.
Can you go over the prereqs for being a smith, artificer, or chef, i.e. the tools they need?
That's a great one. Okay, so just want to jump up on that page, Amanda. Like formal casters, I think it's on there, is it? He meant down. Down, up, down, same thing. The formal area, in quotes, for the 3 is a workbench and artificing tools. You have to have both, and there are 2 separate recipes that are
just work for level 4 and lower recipes and or schematics. Okay? So everyone's going to be looked at. If anyone who's asking about the armorsmith skills, the armorsmith forge counts as a superior. So they just get that off the bat. There were no separate crafting marshals. No, all level marshals will be crafting marshals.
And what about people who had tools before or had recipes before? What happens to those folks?
All recipes will be changed out with the scroll will change out. Every single crafting recipe is to be changed out. It does not work in the new system. If you have, say, an old forge that you bought off the old job store, great. We're going to use that, and we'll send that in, and we'll get you a laminated card for it. The same thing with, you could probably just keep a tag for your tools. But yeah, you just keep your tags. They're still good. I know I have Mastercraft jeweler's tools, because Roman's a jeweler, and I plan on using them. Okay? Let's see, we got some questions here. Nate, what happens to existing armor repair kits? Armor repair kits, I will change those out if you want me to, or you can use them as they are. Existing forge items, if you have smithing tools, they're still useful. Forge items, if, okay, that's the answer. Lay golden down without any okay. Smith able to make golden down. Anyone who has emailed in to, I think it's logistics, right, Amanda? And said that they wish to participate in the crafting playtest. In other words, you wish to keep your crafting skills. If not, you're going to get them refunded. You will be given a starter kit to be able to make what you could make before. Okay, you're not.
I want to call out that I have not gotten many emails of people, and I'm willing to bet it's because they wanted to listen to this fireside chat. But FYI, please email us so we can resend you, and then you get your starter kit of things at opening ceremonies.
And Nate, that includes the shield scroll for the Galen, you can either wait till you get back from plot, or you can get your stuff ready now. I'll do it either way with you.
It'll be much easier for him to wait until he's done, because then it'll be one of a handful as opposed to one of multiple handfuls. So just wait.
Yeah. There's I'll be giving you a recipe for a kitchen and chef stores, and the stuff to go make it. So that would probably be the first thing a lot of people are going to be doing. I may just give y'all, actually, no, I want you to have the fun of pulling those alterations on your first set of culinary art, kitchen tools. Jacob, I believe that is correct. You would, if you're going to respend, you send your email to Lucas. Thank you, Daryl. Yes, make sure you email logistics if you are going to participate in the crafting playtest. Otherwise, your craft skills are basically going to get sold back. You do what you will with your build.
Except I do want to be clear, like, I'm not going character sheet to character sheet and seeing who has these things. So if you don't tell me, then I'm not gonna do it, and then you're just gonna have build that has been spent but is useless.
Right, because if you don't have the right tag, it's gonna. If it says armor smithing, level 10 levels of armor smithing, that doesn't mean anything because it's skill smithing. Makes sense.
Yeah. So either way, if you're going to opt into the playtest, or you want your build refunded because you think this is not for you, email logistics, or as Jillian just mentioned, there is a contact staff form on the website, logistics@shadowmoor.org, or fill out the contact staff form on the website. Otherwise, the build is just going to sit there and be unusable. So either opt in or respend, or if you just want to let things lie and see how the playtest goes, that's also a valid option.
All right. And at the mid-year break, say you try it out and you don't like it, we can rerun this again. It's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely not a you have to opt in now or lose out. Like, if you do it for 3 or 4 events and it is not for you, just talk to us.
All right, Eric, brief description of what tinkering does. Tinkering does things like all of the lab recipes that were put out a couple years ago. All of those are tinkering recipes. They make bombs. They make constructs. They are very much into support. Very much on the same lines as Dualcraft. They're on the lines of improving vessels. And then
I got it.
got it.
Yep.
Well, that's a good question.
You're right.
My question was the playtest includes assisting and chef stuff. Yes, it does not include poison, potion making, or alchemy. But like Daryl mentioned, there are rare recipes out there. You don't have to do any kind of opt in, opt out for production skills. So yes, no, that's not included. Yes, there's cool new things out there. Don't listen to John. Okay, Amanda, if I can get share my screen, I will show a couple of recipes. So folks can get an idea. Click here. Alright. Okay, let's see, how do I do this again? Share screen. Let's see if this works. Does anyone see my screen?
It is loaded. Yep. There we go. Got it.
Alright. Alright, guys, this is what the scrolls look like. So, got anyone seen the straw golem scroll? Wow, it looks like a straw golem scroll. One way you're going to know, you and everyone else, that this is a new scroll and not an old scroll. Mike, in his infinite wisdom, still could not figure out how to get this level on the same line after the type of magic here. So a new scroll is always going to have a level above the type. FYI. So this is the exact same scroll that normally is. Okay? 50 body plus 3 strength, etc., etc. For those of you that don't cast formal magic, this is about as vanilla and base creature as it can get. Alright, so
Mike, the hits for that one reminded me the one about toughness threshold.
Oh yeah, great. So a while back, and that was one of the other things that got on the change out. All of the creatures we removed, what was it, last year or the year before, we removed thresholds from the game. So threshold has been removed from all creatures. Those that had it as their part of their, so say for example, this straw golem had a threshold of 2. So all of those creatures that had a threshold of 2 now have a toughness of 1, so half value in toughness versus threshold. That was an easy, reasonable, kind of not so reasonable way of not reducing the viability of the creature, but at the same time sticking with threshold be gone. Okay? That is one of the reasons why the majority of the summon and construct scrolls are being changed out for this month. Alright, so you first look at our artificing scroll. So
you can see this in the gun store. It is your bipedal steel clockwork automaton. This is your steel robot, okay? Nothing big. It's actually less body, less strength. Can't operate wards. Nothing special, okay? All of the tinkering automatons, I don't know if you can hear me say this, are not as good as the constructs and the summons coming out of Earth and Celestial. That is intentional. This is a craft skill. The investment for those high levels of formal is much higher in build cost. It's not to say that these aren't bad. Some of them are pretty doggone good. But you're going to see that there is a slight bit of disparity between the two. Okay? And we're going to take a look at this is the first the entry level turret at this entry. So you'll see that the movement is stationary. And it throws 5 flaming packets all day long.
Okay. We do have a question. Can you extend or preserve your automatons?
Yeah, right. There are extend or preserves there are extend or preserve clockworks. So there are tinkering recipe or artificing recipes that do just that. And they are very much the same, but they only work for clockworks.
So basically, your Earthcaster can't preserve your automaton. You're the crafter preserving your automaton.
That is correct, and vice versa. All right, so we're going to flip over. Let's see what we have here. All right, so your regular craft skill, craft weapon. So now craft good weapon. This looks pretty much just like it did before. All of the special materials that have been changed or adjusted with this are in this material property section. And then we have alterations. Okay, up to getting an additional invest slot, losing invest slots, getting extra formal space, failures, 2 invest slots, half components, additional formal space at the increment. Okay? Same thing would go for coal. A lot of the items now have, well, not a lot, some have -2 rituals, a formal space of a specific property. There's pretty much one for each type. There's one for fire, ice, lightning, one for druid magic, one for necromancy, one for all celestial, one for all earth, one for healing, that's all, right? And one for confinement. Okay. There are ones, let me talk about repair kits. Okay. So, used to be with the smithing skills, you could, you had a certain number of uses of armor repair that you could do based off of your levels. Well, that is gone. Okay. You have to craft armor repair kits. In this case, it's a weapon and a shield repair kit. The timing of which is on the scroll. Master armorsmiths do get to do that at half the time they normally would. There are regular ones and there are quick ones. So a master armorsmith with a quick repair kit can do an armor repair in 15 seconds. Okay? They are much more pricey, but when you need it, you need it. Okay? There are repair, offline, back in the cabin and or the forge, scrolls for doing armor repairs to shields and to weapons. Okay? Those exist. They're there. They're much more less expensive than doing it in the field. When you prep these armor repair kits, we'll go down to armor repair kit. never available when you need it. Alright, I may not have done that. That's right. So, go back up. Okay. So when you make them, you're just like a one shot. You're getting a tag. You do check boxes on them, and check them off when you use an armor repair kit. Once you use them, they're new stuff. They do the same thing your armor repair kit skill did before. Some of them are better than just one break value. Okay, there are some that do 1, 2, 3, 4 to all the break values. Okay, obviously they get more expensive the more break values that your fixed will come. Okay, there are new components for these. You're gonna have to buy these in order to make them. Those of you that are getting that you had armor smithing before, we're going to give you some starting materials to go with your scrolls. Any questions that have popped up?
Yeah, Mike, do you need to buy a crafting marshal for the in-cabin weapon/shield repair ritual?
Yes. That shouldn't happen that often. If you use a kit, you don't obviously need to. If that ends up being a problem, we'll reevaluate.
That is one of the functions of the whole playtest is to get feedback on what's working, what's not working.
You can still go to the armory and they can still do their normal wizardy things to get your regular armor repairs, but you do have the ability to do that outside the. Okay. Alright. One of my fun things that everyone's been asking for a long, long time. What do I do with this crap that I've got laying around as a vessel that I don't want? Okay. There are schematics for shields, weapons, and jewelry to be able to take that stuff, and if it doesn't have any magic in it, melt it down. Okay? And you get a certain percentage based off of your alteration. So there is a base one right here that says gold, coal, driftwood, and down. And I don't think I can. There is a regular one as well that does everything else. Okay? You can, oddly enough, and I will point it out because I guess I won't be that guy. If you're, for example, and this is one jeweler, if you're a master jeweler, you get an extra 10%, rounded down. Everything's rounded down. If you get all of the original materials in an A9, and you're a master jeweler, then yes, you're getting more materials than what you started with. Go figure. Okay? Alright. Weapon sharpening, I noticed there is basically a +0, +1, +2, and a vaulted +3 weapon sharpening for, just like it was before, there was only a +2. Now there's different ones, they cost different amounts for the component. It could have a variable amount of changes based off of the alteration. Okay? Including it lasting longer, don't use any components, double components, whatever you need. Alright, here's one recipe. A permanent, non-movable, stationary forge and a cabin. Okay. Same thing for the workbench, the exact same components, you just make the workbench for artifice. Kitchen, same thing. Smithing tools, just take some steel, you can make yourself a regular set of tools. Alright, so we didn't have it before, but nobody likes having their fuel destroyed. So keep in mind that this works the same as a sharpening wood. It makes it a temporary in-play vessel, so you can't just go get another one. But you can make your shield indestructible for the event. Okay? If you lose it and you go die, you don't get another one off the woods with that tag. You start off with your base shield whenever you find it. Okay? Alright, on to reinforcement. So before, a master armorsmith could make armor indestructible, and I think you got plus 20% armor points. So there are, yeah.
There's a couple questions that are good. So I'm gonna ask you these questions from the chat that you can answer, and I'll respond via replies. Do we need a phys rep for his kitchen tools, etc.?
It's always nice. The kitchen tools. Yes, your tools need a phys rep. Your area does not. It would be nice if you had the same type of 4x4 area picture. I'm not going to push on that right now. However, it would be nice if you had that little wall picture or, your little set area. That would be kind of nice. Right now, I'm not going to enforce that.
And yes, tools are in play. So if someone leaves them laying on the table in the tavern, you can absolutely steal them.
Correct.
They have in-play value. The other question is, does this mean we can salvage basic crap for monster strength build battle?
No.
No. Anything that you have tags for is the answer. If you have a tag for a steel sword that you don't want, you can salvage that. But you can't go to every monster from Monster Town that has a weapon and grab them and say, I now have 6 steel swords. They are not of a quality worth breaking down. Or if you already try it, you will fail. Yes, Wes gave y'all a little teaser there. Certain monsters might have salvageable material on them.
Alright, is that all the questions, Leon?
Yep.
Alright, so reinforcement used to be up to make it indestructible. You still do that. Okay? You could have more percentage of armor, last more events. There are different levels. There's a 10, a 15, a 20, and a 25%. Okay? Find the bigger ones in play. Your armorsmiths are going to be getting the base form to start off with. So I think everyone always likes the indestructible part of their armor. But, yeah, there's different kinds out there. Have a little bit of a variety in your life. This is the transfer clockwork. So yes, that does exist. Thank you for asking that question. And here's the verbiage that we have been going with in case you are curious. Right here. It's the same for the Earth and the Celestial. If the level of the schematic or forward used to create clockwork extracted is from 1 to 4, then there is no room consumed as long as the current master controller is also the crafter of this schematic. Mage's Guild actually brought to our attention that this scroll, the way it originally said, was worded that no one actually did that way. Said that the master controller had to be the caster of the ritual. No one's been doing that, so we also fixed that wording on here. So you can transfer other guardians from someone else as long as the master controller is there, as is the person that you're transferring to. And they cannot be under any kind of duress or charge. Example of gem setting. So just like before for jewelers, it takes 5. This particular one takes 5 gold worth of formal quality gems to get a 5 extra focal space in the vessel. There are obviously other levels. There's a 5, 10, 15, and a 20. Okay. An interesting thing of note, if you have a unenchanted vessel, or a vessel that becomes unenchanted, that doesn't have any kind of gems or encrusted part of its description, then you can add this after the fact. I'm sure there's going to be a question on that. Let me know there. Alright, so at culinary arts recipes, so this is a brew recipe. They can make 5 of these groggs at one time. And it allows the recipient to gain 1 point of body food each minute for the next 5 minutes. That's not a lot, but it's only level 1. Okay? Does not occur if the recipient is only occurs if the recipient is conscious and not in dead or sleep status. So if you're bleeding out, you don't get picked up because you're unconscious. Okay? This is a minor healing that just happens to be, your symptoms of liquor. Okay? Obviously different effects based off the alteration. This nice one, I know there's a couple people who don't like this. What is this? For one person, you get +2 to your breaking strength, not snapping, up to a maximum of +5 for the next hour. Okay?
Mike, we have a couple questions. One of which has been answered, but I'm going to just for the recording, get it out there. So, first question was, can one get 9 levels of artificing and do both jewelry and tinkering?
Yes, that is the objective. The artificing is the 9 levels. The tinkering and the jeweler are the mastery. So there's just like there's, if you look at formal magic, there's enchantment, binding, alteration, transformation, construct, all of those different masteries. There's just basically 2 sides of the road, and your one main is artifice.
You do have to purchase both masteries, though.
Yes, if you want them. You don't need them to do the scrolls unless the scroll asks for them.
And the second question, which I'm assuming, Eric, this is for items that are already existing. So if it's blah, blah, blah item with gems, it's got gems already. And
correct. Correct. If it says gem encrusted, plus 20 golden gems, anything of the like, then you can't put the gem setting. If it doesn't, but it has to be unenchanted. That's it. My Uber tools don't go into magic stuff. What's the next question, Daryl?
Those were it.
Okay.
The other question was, I guess, and you said it was for this example, +2 strength doesn't stack. Yes, it does. Up to a maximum +5
for an hour. Yeah.
We got a new one as I was.
Yeah.
Being under the effect of only 1 chef and 1 brewer recipe is determined by the duration of the recipes, not one of each per event, correct?
Correct. And keep in mind, so say for example, you were under the effect of this grog, the fourth one, and then you tried to drink this one. It's kind of like, you're taking that ibuprofen, this would not come into effect because you would be under the effect of 2 different drinks. Okay? So they don't stack on top of each other. Even their effects. So you could drink it and you would get no effect from the second one. And you can't get rid of it until the effect is over.
I think that's all the questions I got so far.
Alright, so bombs. Everyone likes bombs. So, yep, think of it like a one-shot that is just a blue tag for a 10 flaming packet. You have to have X number of levels of artificing to be able to throw it, so not everyone can throw them. They go up the larger the bomb is, has no radius, and does not set things on fire. Okay? The last number of events starts with, I think, 3 events. Yes, 3 events. You can make a bunch of them. They are the cost prohibitive. I'm telling you that now. I don't want to hear that they're too expensive. But yeah, this is supposed to be a fun thing that they can do. Not necessarily you're not going to make money at this. Okay? Alright. unlike an alchemist or who gets acid or alchemist fire, you don't get production for this. This costs gold to make. Okay. All right. So another drink. We're going to talk about the resist. This could just as easily be one of the food ones. This is one of the ones that exists. It does the same thing it did before. It gives you that resist sleep. The difference is alterations. You could make 2 drinks. You could make 2 drinks that give 2 resist sleeps until the end of the event. You could make 3 that give 2 resist. Okay? So, in essence, it's the exact same thing that it was before, but it's a bit for other things. Potion labs, I mentioned this before. There were potion labs that existed, and those also need to be changed out because they would be a rare recipe. They used to be part of the potion making, scroll making, poison making, the production skill that they were part of didn't make sense anymore. So that now, in order to make it, you just need one level of artificing, and then you need the master of the type that you're making. So, if you have those, we'll change those out. And they can do cool things. It does not do 1 through 10. It does 1 through 5. I'll remake that. But it can do a little bit of trick. Oh, it does 1 through 10. A9 it makes a 1 through 10 triplet. Okay? I know that makes some production people salivate. Alright, so recipes. Alchemist fire. There's a couple of them. It now tells you how many production points it is. And Alex, if she's on here, it's not like 7 for a translator. Has requirements. Only 1 character can use it, and you can make alchemist fire methods. As a point, I believe a 10, well, it's the same cost as a 10 acid, but the higher you go, it's a little bit less because a 10 flaming package is not nearly as useful as a 10. A 20 flaming package is not as useful as a 20 acid package.
It's actually 1 cheaper than a 10 acid.
Is it? Okay. I thought it was the same as that one, but that was intentional. So, alright, so poison recipe here. This is one of them. So you already cost 2 gas, but here's a cost 10 gas. Just for those people who just like to do that. There are a number of scrolls that are in the rulebook that you cannot make as a scroll. Or you can put them in on a one-shot. You can't make it in a scroll. I have no idea why. But now there are rare recipes for different types of scrolls so that you can use them. You could put it on your card just like you would handwrite it in for your production card.
Mike, you got a couple questions?
Yep.
The first one is in regards to the potion lab. Does the crafter who makes the labs need the mastery, or do they need someone with the mastery there?
They need to be the one with the mastery. Making a potion lab is not an easy thing.
And the next question, which is for these rare production recipes, do you have to have the relative skill to read them? The example being like how you have to have Celestial Formal level 3 to read a level 3 scroll. So that means anyone can read these.
Anyone can read any of the crafting or rare recipes. Whether you can't use them, you don't understand them, but you can read them. Understand them in the I'm looking at
Can I understand the intricacies?
Correct. Not the fact that you can't read it. Example of other scrolls that cannot be made, Mental Jab. It's kind of funny because no one really takes the spell, but if you wanted to, you can make yourself a bunch of Mental Jab scrolls. And that is all the teasing that I'm going to give you for today.
I will reiterate, that is not the extent. That is a taste first hit screen. Now go spend some bill and some gold.
Existing lamps is the same as what they were. Who got called out?
Adam.
There you go. I mean, he can make a bunch of mental jack scrolls. Any questions? Feel free to put it on the Facebook channel in that same thread. That would be great. I know that it's a lot. And I can tell you that that is just a taste of what is going on in there. If you have questions, hit me up. If you end up finding typos or what have you, just bring them up to me. I know I'm not perfect. And the scroll database is just shy of 500 scrolls now. So we will fix it with the next following reprint. If there's a typo or something wrong, don't you worry about it. We'll take care of it.
All right. Mike, you got anything else?
I do not.
All right. So I'm gonna get everybody not 5 minutes, maybe a little longer. I don't know. But if you have any outstanding questions or anything Mikey or I talked about, go ahead and get them either in the chat here, or we'll try to answer them as we finish up. If not, put them in the rules post on the Facebook group so that everybody can see them. Because chances are, if you have a question, somebody else has it too. So with that said, we're not quite done yet, but the next on our agenda is to let Jillian talk a little bit briefly about the website. A brief overview of the website.
Yeah, this is like a simple little share my screen. That's when you guys share the screen. I got a new computer and I have to shut down Discord and I can share my screen to get permission.
All right, I'll get to it in just a second.
Hey, Chief, I have a good question. Mikey or Daryl, can you answer that?
Well, Mikey's gonna have to because I'm trying to figure out share my screen.
Mikey, I'm trying to think this. Having recipes since I was a master builder before, will I be given those recipes in the new system? You will be given a packet of all the stuff that you could make from gold and below. And then there were dual crafting recipes, I think I had to, if you had those as a part of the change out, you will be given those as well. But you'll be given basically the gold below that you could make before.
Julian, looks like you got it set up. So are you good?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna stop streaming then, so everybody watch Jillian instead.
So, new website, guys. I know a lot of you take really have. I'm sorry.
I think it was just a hot mic. You're good.
Very good. Hopefully it's pretty straightforward. We did a lot of research in order to make it pretty intuitive. Basically, the main things for you guys to look at is if you want to purchase a ticket to a calendar event, this has all of our upcoming events available. If you want to purchase a ticket, not even mess with that, you can go straight to the purchase event ticket. It should take you to the month that is coming out for you. Outside of that, new player, we put a whole bunch of resources in it for our new players in order to kind of help with that barrier to entry that Daryl was talking about a little bit earlier. So on here, it's going to talk a little bit about what Shadowmoor LARP is, some step-by-steps on creating the character, and what to expect at your first event, before, during, and after. And there's some resources in there as well. Player resources are more targeted to our more experienced players who maybe been with the first time. This is where you're going to find your latest rulebook, the ability to do a cabinet request, your gob store that Mike mentioned, merchant order, any sort how to fill out your martial notes is also in here. We have it over so you can download it and draw it any sort of digital program you want, so you don't have to do it on site if you want, and bring it to site. as well as your weapon guide for building weapons. That is a PDF separate, just FYI. We've also added in contact, I mentioned earlier, if you want to contact staff, this is our logistics form. So anything that has to do with logistics questions, you can fill it out here. If you have a question for a player committee or just general staff, all of that information can be located here under contact staff. And I think the only section I haven't covered is more. We put some basic stuff out here. So if you're interested in kind of knowing, hey, what's kind of happened in the last 5 years, or the last 10 years primarily, and how we got here, it is all there and accessible with some awesome maps that Alex Winslow has drawn. Thank you, Alex. The Oasis and Emerald. That's about it. I did want to mention though, if you're finding any bugs, errors, typos, like Mike said, I have an issue report that's going to be kind of shared for both the website and the rulebook. So if you're going through it and you're like, oh, this is a huge error. I know Stefan mentioned earlier that you had to say you were both 18 and under 18 in order to sign a waiver. That's been fixed. But if you're coming across those, it's big help for us if you can just go ahead and log them on here. And then that way we can have one kind of source of truth for as we're making corrections, instead of it being, through the grapevine or posted on Facebook or in Discord. This helps us out a lot to be able to make changes a little bit more efficiently.
We do have one question, Jillian, that we might take for action. Is there a place to note who you are paying for when you buy multiple tickets and insurance?
Ooh, no, there is not currently a way to do that. Let me try to figure out a way to do that. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head on a lot of different how to do that.
So in the meantime, yes, email logistics@shadowmoor.org, or maybe put it in your cabin registration also, since does it let you do a note with that or no?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll say email logistics with who you paid for, because I do think we've had some folks who are definitely paying for multiple people, and that would be appreciated to know who they are.
It is not. Yeah, we'll just do email logistics for now.
No, thank you, Katie. I am dropping some links in here, guys. I'm kind of hijacking Jillian's oohing and awing. By the way, Jillian and Alex and everybody worked so hard on this, and I'm so excited. So a couple of links based off of the website, which is why I'm hijacking. Because Jesse and I have a new LLC, it does mean that we need everybody to re-sign that code of conduct. So that's the first link there. Please take a look at that. I think really it's just that we changed the LLC, and we might have slightly changed the verbiage on a couple of things, but nothing crazy. Then we do have a cabin registration form now, and of course we are, as she showed, you can purchase your events on our website as well. So one other note that I don't think we covered, if you're opting in, you will get the equivalent levels that you have currently, even if it costs more. Like, we're not going to penalize you. If it costs less, you will get your bill back. Questions on that? Awesome. Yes, we are still offering season and lifetime passes. They should be an option under the March event. Season and lifetime passes include the cost of insurance in them. The only one that does not include the cost of insurance is your per events.
Yes, you can still pay on site with cash.
So you pay insurance, but it is included in the cost. And there have been a couple of people that I think they didn't catch that in time. So you will see refunds if you paid insurance. If you paid insurance and you bought a season pass already, we will be refunding you for the insurance since it's baked into the cost.
Rob, yes, you will be able to buy a season pass at the second event, but that is the last month you will be able to. You will have that available.
Jillian, did you say where the issue form was on the website?
It's posted on Facebook. I have posted here in Discord as well. And then Molly, I wanted to address this. It looks like the playable races has gotten smaller. I've actually just kind of consolidated them. So if you click into elves, it has like a bunch of all the sub races underneath that. Because when people are looking at it, it's a little bit easier to say, oh, I want to play an elf. What kind of elves are there? Which is why I might be similar to you.
Okay, I know we've got a couple more questions. Jesse, I'm gonna share my screen now just to go over quick other things. Since I started to go through them without sharing my screen. But Jesse, if you can handle a couple of the other questions in the chat while I'm doing that.
Sure.
I think the only one that has an answer is will pre-existing lifetime passes need to pay for insurance.
No. If you have a lifetime pass, you don't have to worry about insurance.
Yeah, that includes existing.
Yes.
There's a rules crafting related question, so Mikey, you may want to answer this. If not, if you.
Yeah, I got it.
Will Master Chef, I'm just saying it for the recording purposes, will Master Chef be converted by build cost or level?
Well, you'll be getting your 9 levels of culinary arts, and then you'll be getting that. There's no extra levels of Master Chef, so that's what it is. So I guess by build cost, I guess that's what it is.
Okay, can everybody see my screen? All right, awesome. So, yep, I just went over code of conduct. Please read it, sign it, return it. I know everybody has already had to do it at least once, if not twice, but we are a new LLC, so we do need those before you can play. We'll have paper copies, of course, but I would love to not have to spend a lot of time scanning things. So if you can digitally fill it out, that would be amazing. So, COVID policy. The only change to our COVID policy is that our tavern is now back in play and masks are optional. Just like smoking, cabins, the occupants of the cabin will determine if masking is mandatory in those buildings. So same with they decide if you can smoke at the cabin or not. Please check out the COVID policy, which we don't have linked here, but should be on our website. If you haven't read it, and for our new players who haven't submitted vaccinations, that is still a requirement. So if you're a new player planning to come, please submit those to us as well via there's a form for that as well, right, Jillian?
Yeah, Eric just linked it in the chat. That's the conduct waiver, sorry.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's in the community guidelines has the code of conduct and the waiver in the same spot.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. We did update the cost of lifetime passes to align with the season pass and individual event cost. So you'll see that if you are looking to do that. We've already really talked about our drop store and merchant orders, which are on the form. But those all go, whether it's God store or merchant, those all go to merchant@shadowmoor.org. Because then they're going to package all that up, make sure you get it by opening ceremonies. A couple of important things here, though. A lot of times people have been, after maybe not getting their items preserved or extended that event, just saying on their envelope, like, preserve GOB. But this does need to happen prior to the event because of who's doing merchants and items versus who's doing items and crossing streams and everybody. Please, if you're going to use GOB to preserve, do it before the event, not after the event. Of course, we know that's going to be, a little bit of a learning curve, so there will be some leniency, but at some point we're going to say, nope, this is the last time we're going to do that. Jesse, am I missing something on GOB store and merchant orders?
Yep, there are forms on the website now for those as well, but if you're doing it on your own, please use that merchant address.
And please don't wait till the last minute. If I'm putting scrolls before, so please make sure you get your orders in by the 3rd. That would be awesome. Yeah, the week before the event. Week before the event.
Yep.
Amanda, you do have a question on, we need to resend our back cards if we did last week.
We should have everybody's fax cards on file. I haven't actually gone and checked through everyone, but what I'll do is I'll actually probably run a list of whoever registers for March against all the fax cards that I have and individually reach out if for some reason I'm missing someone's. So no, unless I ask you for it.
And yes, still a negative test on Friday is required.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Jesse, would you like to talk about cabin registration and opening ceremonies?
Sure. So, again, another great form on the website is going to be our cabin registration so that we can have that all in one consolidated place. If you are registering for a cabin, please do one registration for the full occupancy if your group is together. Kind of same rules as it was before by email, except this way is easier for us to process. And we will be, kind of the way it was done last year, we will be posting a list of everybody's registration or final cabin assignments on the Facebook page and probably Discord by the Wednesday prior to the event, so that you will know exactly what cabin you're in when you get to site. You don't have to wait on us to open up check-in. And then for opening ceremonies, we are going to be cutting out a lot of the information that was kind of repetitive from month to month. So now we're going to be focusing only on what is fresh news. So the introduction to the tavern and to Monster Town and all of those things that that were good for new players are going to happen just for new players. So we don't have to cover that every single time. We will be posting lists of who your formal marshals are and where they are, and who your medics are and where they are, and those things ahead of time on Facebook and Discord, and we'll have something up in the tavern on site as well, so that you can find those important teams throughout the event as you need them. But yeah, we're probably not going to have a lot of the introduction into the safety measures and those things. We just don't feel like we need them every single month. And we'd rather get everybody in play. So,
When are we holding opening ceremonies?
Our goal is to hold opening ceremonies at 10. And it may be a little extended in March as we're covering any rules questions or anything that we feel like needs to be reinforced from all these rules and system changes. But in general, we want to hold it by 10 and get folks into play. If that means that we have to go back to doing logistics or check-in at afterwards, then we'll do that. But yeah, we want to try to get through everything and hopefully maybe start getting people in play by 11 on Fridays is the goal. But we still get rumors and things like that. Like I said, anything new, anything safety related, it's like we got on site and there's a giant hole with wires and water in it. We'll tell you about those things. You want me to keep going?
I'll start with tracking. So I'm sure everybody who's played is familiar with the sign-ins, and sometimes there's one on the tavern, and then down at Monster Town, and it's forever been a thing of, will it get rained on, will somebody not be legible, etc. We are going with Google form, which will stay with our Monster Marshal on an iPad that we provide. Well, it's not an iPad, but the same difference. So it is a Google form that you'll sign in and sign out of that will digitalize everything and make everything legible. And our Monster Marshals will be responsible for keeping track of the technology, so no pressure there. That's really all there is for the actual change in how we're tracking that. But Jesse will talk about rewards then.
So we've had, for the past few years, a serious problem maintaining the numbers of monster volunteers and tavern volunteers that we need. And there were a lot of roles that were getting their weekend chit signed that weren't initially roles that were listed to get their chit signed. They just kind of graduated into it without actually having anybody codify it or anything like that. So we went through and we just kind of set a hard line that the roles that are going to get their chit signed for the weekend, that are going to get you your blanket, are the roles that have to take 2 hours or more of in-play time to perform that service for the game. So things like formal marshals, especially with all these crafting changes, are going to be spending a lot of time doing their job during in-play time. And then monstering, monster marshaling, doing the tavern, doing tavern shift leads, those types of roles, doing checkout where you have to leave play early to be available to the folks that are packing up and leaving site. Those roles that are spending what could be their playtime to do service for the game, those are the roles that are going to get your chit signed. So while we really appreciate the folks that are doing logistics, and we really appreciate the folks that are helping before the game starts or after the game ends, what we're going to do is count that as your total work time for the weekend, so that when you hit that 4-hour threshold, you get those that 50 gob bonus, right? So we'll count your time as a collective total, but you will need to have spent that time doing a role that happens between the times play is called and we call the game for the weekend. And most of the folks that are in those roles, whoever your team lead is, should have had that conversation with you already about if it was going to change for you. So
if they haven't, or if you have questions on that, I believe all of our steering committee folks are on the website. If you're not sure who the leads are for which things, and you can reach out to them directly and have that conversation with them. Or
absolutely.
If you're not comfortable having that conversation with them, please definitely reach out to Jesse and or I.
Yes.
At owner@shadowmoor.org.
Yep.
Close us out with storytellers and boarding house.
Okay. So, as you guys know, plot does a lot in the time frame that they have. But we have always had a group of storytellers, and previously it was mostly steering committee members that run higher level story arcs, and things that cross multiple years. And so we want to keep this going, but we recognize that the folks that may be good managers, which is what our steering committee is they have management over different teams. The people who are managers aren't necessarily the same folks that want to tell those types of stories. So we've made a specific group that overlaps a lot, but this specific group is the storyteller team. And so some of the folks that are going to be on there are not necessarily steering committee members, but they are going to be telling our high level, our worldview type stories, or the things that happen over multiple years. And so that's they're going to be working in conjunction with plot, and sometimes things will align and they'll be supporting each other in those stories, and sometimes they'll just be working parallel to each other. But we are going to have a few folks running those stories, and we'll have those. You'll see them out as NPCs. The difference is those folks will also be playing their character during the event, right? They aren't full time like plot. So TJ, Kevin, Josh Burns, and then a number of the steering committee members, Chris Lynch, Jillian, myself, Amanda, Mike, Fink. We will have storylines running, but we will also be playing our characters during some points during the weekend. So the contact for us will be the same, in that if you get picked up into one of these storylines and you want to do something with your downtime that involves it, you can address it to a storyteller member, but you will send it to the plot email, and we'll have access to those. And
Can I jump in real quick, Jess? Since you talk about plot emails, we've only heard from a couple of you that you're not required to turn anything in that you did between events, but if your character did something between years, we need those by March 3rd as well. So if you're going to send something in, please do it as quick as possible so we can answer and role play if it's needed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then lastly, another one of the big things that we've been hearing consistently in our feedback is that new players get a lot of information thrown at them on Friday night, and then other than the mod they get on Saturday morning, they're kind of abandoned. Especially the folks that don't have friends who bring them in, or that don't have nice friends that bring them in and then stay with them through the weekend. And so we are going to be creating a pseudo in-play, pseudo out-of-play location for these folks. In play, it is the new player boarding house. And it is going to be a place that has general cabin protections and is a safe location for players that are first through third event to stay, assuming they don't opt to stay with friends or somewhere else.
You definitely can.
Yes.
But we're just trying to provide this additional feature.
Exactly. So anybody who doesn't say, I got a friend in the Mages Guild, I'm sleeping, I'm staying with them. If you don't put them in a cabin registration, if we just get a new player in a cabin registration, we're going to put them in the boarding house. And so this will, be however many cabins that we require, but we'll find a place that's close together so that these guys can stay in a block. And our awesome new player committee is going to be checking on them at multiple points throughout the weekend, and working with them, like I said, in play and out of play. They'll check on them to see if they have rules questions or just need any help with more specifics. Something that might have not come up in the safety course or in their first mods. But we will also be doing, on Sunday afternoon at 1:00, we will be doing in-play classes for these folks to, again, help them get their foothold in the world, right? Because your characters are walking in having lived in Amaroth their whole lives, but new players are not, right? And so it's not exactly easy to integrate into mods and field battles and understanding the differences and figuring out how to get your character involved in things, and knowing about cabin protections and all of these rules things that sort of relate but also have in-play perspectives that they would be beneficial for them to see and learn. So anybody's technically welcome to these lectures and classes, but it's definitely something we're going to be targeting newer players with, right? So you'll be seeing some posts and things about that. We encourage you guys as experienced players to utilize the boarding house if Mages Guild is trying to drum up business. You need to cast Informal now that you've got more time to do it, because a lot of those rituals are drastically reduced in time. Then maybe go talk to some new players and try to get some new business or something like that. But you guys feel free to interact and engage with the new folks down at the boarding house as much as you can. And like I said, our new player team is going to be taking care of them as well. So, yeah. And then lastly, one thing we don't have on here. Well, let me get questions first. Anything that we've talked about that you guys have questions on?
Can I ask, is there a designated place yet for the boarding house?
Not a specific place. We want to let you guys get your cabin registrations in, but we are probably going to try to fit them in Lowtown somewhere, if possible. Okay. If there's nothing else, there's one more thing that Amanda and I wanted to throw at you. A lot of you know, because we've been asking for change out multiple times across events, basically after every field battle, the game is desperately in need of coin again. And we're going to do what has been done traditionally in the past, which is to hold a raffle. So we'll be posting on Facebook and Discord kind of an explanation of how the raffle is going to work. And we will be opening up tickets on the website. But just as a high-level summary, there'll be $5 tickets. Each ticket will get you 5 gob, as if you were making a donation, so it's 1 for 1. But it will also get you 1 raffle ticket entered. And either when we get to the to our target value for what we need to purchase, or at the end of April, we're just going to kind of call it after the April event, and we will hold a Fireside S'moors where we will draw for those raffles, right? And so we have a list of the top tier is going to be some magic items and opportunities there. And then the secondary tier is going to be for crafting informal scrolls and component sets. And then the third tier is going to be coin and production. And so we'll do all the drawings. We will be numbering things, so we won't be calling out, hey, this person just got a swifty new item, go get them. But we'll provide you with your numbers once the raffle is closed, and then hopefully you'll join us on the fireside and see what you've won. But we'll be working kind of off screen with you guys to make sure that you get your rewards afterward. But yeah, and then hopefully we'll be able to put in a coin order and get some more singles and silvers. Yes. We appreciate the people that can drop a bundle and would be willing to drop a bundle, but we also recognize that this is not a pay to play system, and we don't want somebody to simply buy out the raffle. And so we are going to be setting a limit of $500, which is more than a season pass. But per person, please don't, we're asking folks not to spend more than $500 on purely this lottery of potential magic items. While we appreciate it, we definitely want you to get your money's worth and have an opportunity for multiple people to contribute to the game. So, but yeah. So like I said, we'll be posting the details of that. We just wanted to give you guys a heads up that that's coming. Any other questions?
So yeah, I know this is a lot. I hope you guys are so excited because we really are excited. We said at the beginning, but we'll close with it too. This is a lot of changes, and it is based off of the feedback we got. So if something isn't working, we're obviously very hopeful that it'll work and this will be a nice, smooth transition. But if it isn't, those after event surveys are your best forum, or the contact staff on the website also, if you want to do it that way. Either way, please let us know what you think and feel. Preferably after you've experienced it in play. Definitely want to give it a chance. And otherwise, we can't express how excited and thrilled we are to start this year off and see how this goes. And in case anybody is wondering, the background on the website that Jillian chose was purposeful to give you a little bit of teaser. Love it, love it. So yes, stay tuned. We'll be posting some additional links and resources in the player resources on Discord and on Facebook, and of course on our website, which will really become our main form of hosting all those documents. But we'll still, of course, use these as forums to announce and push things. But anything that we think you guys need links to, we'll make sure you have them.
Are there any questions that did not get answered in regards to rules or the crafting playtest? Please post those on the Facebook post. That way everybody can see them. Try to get them in as quick as you can, because we are less than 2 weeks out at this point.
Yay.
We will be putting out a monster sign up as well relatively soon, so look for that.
All right, guys, go forth and learn rules and start role playing.
Yeah, and thank y'all for all the feedback. I hope you can see how it tied into the decisions that we've made. And we appreciate your feedback going forward to see if we're continuing in the right direction.